Hey, John Taff, wanted to show you, as you recall, we had a stuck valve in the number one cylinder here. It was it was a larger valve, so that's your intake valve that was stuck open. That's why we couldn't get any compression, and it was stuck wide open. So it's unstuck now. We have a new head gasket in here, and we've got the head reattached. And by the time we've done all the cleaning up of our surfaces to put new gaskets on, put your exhaust manifold back on, put your intake manifold back on. We also, here's your fuel pump. This is an automotive style fuel pump. There's a vent hole right here that if this was marine, when it would fail, gasoline would come through this part of it here and get into the crankcase. And so this doesn't seem to be leaking. We thought maybe it was leaking because we had that internal explosion. But when the diaphragm in this fuel pump fails, guess what? Gasoline is going to be pumped out of this little hole right here into the bilge of your boat. And this is an automotive style fuel pump and really needs to be replaced with one for that doesn't have that vent, that's vented into the crankcase as opposed to vented into the bilge, because that would be a pretty quick trip to heaven when this fails. The other thing that came to mind is when we do an engine detail, it's about $3,000, and we have the starter rebuilt, we have the alternator rebuilt, we rebuild the fuel pump, we do a tune-up, and we do a carburetor rebuild. And we're already doing a carburetor rebuild, and we're going to do a new fuel pump instead of a rebuild on the fuel pump. And we've already done the tune-up, and what we haven't done, the only thing we haven't done, and of course part of the detailing is painting in the correct color. This is an incorrect color. The correct color is this one you see right here. This one is too light a blue. There's another aspect to that, another story, and that is that a guy that used to work at the Chris-Craft factory said they had a great big vat in the back room, and they'd put various paints in there, and he says everybody's got the right Chris-Craft color, because every year they would have to clean all the accumulation of paint off the inside of the vat, and when they did that, they'd have every single layer of paint was slightly different color than the other. But this matches a Interlux Chris-Craft blue engine paint in a rattle can, and I'm sure Interlux has better. They make yacht coatings and been making paints for years. I'm sure they have better color controls than obviously Chris-Craft did, if you listen to that old story. So to say that this is the wrong color of paint, it's wrong according to the Interlux Chris-Craft, the Interlux standard for Chris-Craft paint. But if you take the other old timer story and say all these paint colors were correct, then you kind of got to take what I'm telling you with a grain of salt. So anyhow, that's the whole story, pros and cons. My thought is that really we only have about 12 hours or $900 to go ahead and pull the engine, paint the engine the correct color, and put the engine back. We're basically doing everything else. We're not rebuilding the starter right now. We're not rebuilding the alternator, which was not original equipment. We're not rebuilding those things right now, but we are doing everything else. And this is, we got 4 bolts to take out. We got 4 bolts to take out back here out of your coupling. We got a couple wires to take off, and this is out of here. So, while it's not going to make your boat go any faster, of course, it might make it a little more reliable having the generator and the alternator rebuilt. But which we're really looking at $1,200 if we add those to the mix. But for $1,200, we can just go ahead and give your engine a full detail, because you're already spending the other $1,800 of that on fuel pump and the fact that we had to remove the head to unstick the valve, and Well, actually, I removed the head to find out we had a stuck valve. And the other alternative would be to remove all of this so that we could find out that we had a stuck valve. And so anyhow, just want to see which way you want to go. I'm assuming you want to go ahead and put it back together, but we're going to work on the rest of the afternoon on adjusting the valves. We're about out of time for today anyhow. We're going to get that done. If you let me know by tomorrow morning if you want to move on with the detailing or not, then that would be great. All right, thank you, sir.